The forgotten lesson: what schools prefer to hide about Black history. Do you know there were stories about the Black history that all schools kept hidden from the students? Understanding how the enslaved people were treated, it's no shocker that some stories were kept hidden. So journey with us as we shed more light on this dark history. Portuguese ships were used to transport Africans to Cape Verde and Madeira Islands in the eastern Atlantic to be used as enslaved laborers on their sugar plantations. Spanish conquistadors took enslaved Africans to the Caribbean after 1502. Still, Portuguese merchants continued to dominate the transatlantic slave trade for another century and a half, operating from their bases in the Congo-Angola area along the west coast of Africa. In the 1600s, the Dutch became the foremost traders of enslaved people. In the following century, the English and French merchants controlled about half of the transatlantic slave trade, taking a large percentage of their human cargo from the region of West Africa, between the Senegal and Niger rivers. In 1713, Spain and Britain reached an agreement, giving the British exclusive rights to trade enslaved people with Spanish colonies. The Asiento de Negros allowed Britain to supply these colonies with 4,800 enslaved Africans annually for 30 years. The South Sea Company, where British Queen Anne owned about 22.5% of the shares, was given the contract for this supply. As the sugarcane plantations in the Caribbean and the tobacco plantations in the Chesapeake region in North America grew, the demand for enslaved labor rose accordingly. In the 18th century, the most significant number of enslaved people were taken to America, which was nearly 3/5 of the total volume of the transatlantic slave trade. The effect of the slave trade in Africa was devastating. Lawlessness and violence were promoted because of the economic incentives of warlords and tribes to engage in the trade of enslaved people. It was difficult for the economy and agriculture of Western Africa to thrive as a result of depopulation and fear of captivity. Young women in their childbearing years and young men of age to start a family were always the victims of captivity. The old and elderly were usually left behind because they were unimportant. Before I continue, if you still haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the button now. You definitely do not want to miss out on our interesting topics. In the early stages of the transatlantic slave trade, the Portuguese primarily acquired enslaved Africans captured during tribal conflicts. However, as the demand for enslaved individuals increased, the Portuguese began venturing into the African interior to seize captives forcibly. As other European powers became involved in the slave trade, they generally remained along the coastal regions, where they purchased captives from Africans who had transported them from the interior. Once captured, the abducted Africans were compelled to embark on a grueling journey to the coast, covering distances of up to 300 miles or 485 kilometers. Typically, captives were paired and bound by ankle chains, forming columns of individuals connected by ropes around their necks. Tragically, it is estimated that 10 to 15% of these captives lost their lives during the arduous trek to the coastal slave markets. The Atlantic or Middle Passage, usually to Brazil or an island in the Caribbean, was notorious for its brutality and the overcrowded, unsanitary conditions on slave ships. Several Africans were stacked like sardines in the decks below for a voyage of about 5,000 miles that could last a few weeks to several months. How awful! They were in the worst possible condition, chained together with barely enough room to sit upright. The oxygen level there was low, and the heat was intolerable. I'm sure there was nowhere to do their business, so they probably had to do it in the same room they lived in. Many enslaved people died aboard before reaching their destination, which is no surprise based on how they were treated. Death rates, which were directly proportional to the length of the voyage, declined as the time of the journey was reduced significantly between the beginning of the 16th century and the end of the 19th century. The death rates among the European captains and crews were as high as the captives on the Middle Passage. In 1781, an infamous incident happened in the slave ship Zong. The enslaved Africans and crew members were all dying from an infectious disease. Hoping to stop the disease, Captain Luke Collingwood ordered that more than 130 Africans should be thrown overboard. Then, they filed an insurance claim on the value of the murdered enslaved persons. On a few occasions, the captives rebelled and took over the ship. One successful attempt was the one of 1839, where an enslaved person named Joseph Cinque led a mutiny of 53 illegally purchased enslaved people on the Spanish slave ship Amistad and killed the captain and 2 of the crew members. Afterward, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered the Africans to be returned to their homes. What effects did this slave trade have on Africa? And how did it develop the Europeans? The effect of the transatlantic slave trade was significantly felt in West Africa because it supplied an immense amount of captives. Other places were affected too, but less than West Africa. The transatlantic slave trade brought about economic stagnation in Africa. Apart from the economic stagnation, the transatlantic enslaved person also caused war among African rulers. The African rulers competed over the control of enslaved people, capturing and trading, hence the war. The Atlantic trade affected the political landscape of Africa. Now to the development of Europe. In the 18th century, Britain became the first country in the world to industrialize. The profit gained from the slave trade gave the British economy an extra source of capital. Since the white people believed that the blacks are inferior to them, it's no surprise that this topic was kept hidden from the school's curriculum. They obviously wouldn't want to give the credit to the enslaved black people. Moving on, some black people were given less credit than they deserved. With this, let's talk about the inventions and innovations of black people. Can you imagine a world without refrigerators? It is impossible because many things could go right with it, hence the need for it. Frederick McKinley Jones left his mark with the development of refrigeration equipment, receiving over 40 patents for it. During the 1930s, he invented automated refrigerated air cooling systems designed for use in trucks, trains, ships, and aircraft, significantly enhancing the preservation of perishable goods, including food. His groundbreaking innovation, known as the Thermo King, revolutionized the ability to enjoy fresh food year-round. Moreover, his pioneering work played a pivotal role in preserving blood and medical supplies, a contribution of immense value during the challenges of World War II. In a historic milestone, he became the first African American to be honored with the National Medal of Technology in 1991. Madam C.J. Walker was the first self-made African American millionaire woman after she created a line of hair products geared toward black hair. She made the first Madam Walker's Excellent Hair Grower in 1905. A Netflix series was created based on her life, which premiered in 2020 titled Self-Made. The fact that all this information was withheld is quite strange because these are innovations that required smart thinking, and the black people weren't given enough credit for it. Garrett Morgan's innovative creations have undoubtedly been instrumental in saving countless lives since their inception. Consider his groundbreaking traffic signal, patented in 1922, which introduced the concept of a third caution signal, now recognized as the yellow light. Additionally, as early as 1912, Morgan secured a patent for his pioneering breathing device, one of the earliest prototypes of a gas mask, a testament to his commitment to safety and public welfare. Alexander Miles made a pivotal contribution to enhancing safety with his elevator design. Before his innovation, elevators were manually operated, necessitating individuals to manually manipulate both the elevator and shaft doors on each ride. Miles recognized the perpetual danger inherent in this process, especially while riding an elevator with his daughter. In 1887, he successfully obtained a patent for his invention, which incorporated a flexible belt connected to the elevator cage, enabling automatic door operation. This revolutionary advancement drastically improved elevator safety. In recognition of his remarkable achievement, Alexander Miles was honored with induction into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2007. Despite her significant contributions to society, Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner remains one of the often overlooked black inventors despite filing 5 patents. In 1957, she introduced a groundbreaking invention, the adjustable sanitary belt with a moisture-proof napkin pocket. At a time when women were predominantly using cloth pads during their periods, her innovation marked a significant advancement in feminine hygiene. Beyond this, Kenner's inventive spirit extended to diverse areas of daily life. She created a serving tray designed to attach to a walking frame, a practical toilet tissue holder, and a black washer suitable for mounting on a shower wall. Her inventive legacy encompasses a range of innovations that have enriched the lives of many. In 1966, Brown submitted a patent application for the inaugural home security system, driven by her desire to enhance security in her Queens, New York residence. Her initial design included essential components like a camera, a two-way microphone, peepholes, and monitors, laying the groundwork for the advanced home security systems we rely on today. Dr. Lee Crumpler not only holds the distinction of being the first African-American female physician, but also left an enduring legacy with her publication of the Book of Medical Discourses in 2 parts in 1883. This pioneering work is one of the earliest medical texts authored by an African-American. Throughout her career as a physician, Dr. Lee Crumpler provided her medical expertise in Boston and Virginia. Following the conclusion of the Civil War, she dedicated herself to caring for formerly enslaved people, leaving an indelible mark on the history of healthcare and racial equality. While Matthew Henson's contributions to exploration remained primarily overlooked until the late 20th century, his remarkable achievements have earned him a prominent place in history today. Initially serving as a talented cabin boy, Henson honed his navigation skills and acquired essential knowledge while working as a crewman. His journey eventually led him to join Commander Robert E. Peary on numerous Arctic expeditions, including the historic 1909 mission that culminated in the discovery of the North Pole. Henson planted the American flag on that momentous occasion, marking their extraordinary achievement. In conclusion, teaching hidden Black history is a step further in obtaining an equitable society. It enriches our knowledge of Black history and enables individuals to contribute positively to societal change. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more Black history stories.